Hello everybody, and welcome to what's going to be a fascinating discussion of what sounds like the most boring topic in the world, sand. Why are we talking about sand of all things? I mean, personally, I never thought about sand at all until I began investigating what sounded like a completely crazy story about how a farmer in India was murdered over sand. And come to find out, he wasn't the only one. There have been many other killings over sand. And the reason is because this plain old everyday stuff is actually the most important solid substance on Earth. It is the primary raw material that modern cities are made of. Wherever you're watching from, the floor beneath you, the roof over your head, the walls around you are most likely made from concrete, right? Just like every skyscraper, every shopping mall, every apartment block that gets built anywhere from Beijing to Lagos is made of concrete. And concrete is basically just sand and gravel that's been stuck together. So that means the paved roads that connect all those buildings are also made of sand. Every one of the windows in those buildings is made of sand too, because glass is just melted down sand. Even the silicon chips that power your computers and your mobile phones, also made from sand. In short, no sand, no modern civilization. And guess what? We are starting to run out. There is so much demand for sand today that riverbeds and beaches are being stripped bare, farmlands and forests are being torn up to get at those grains. And in many places, thanks to a lack of regulations and official corruption, a black market in sand has sprung up and people are being assaulted, tortured, and murdered all over sand. We consume more sand than any other natural resource except water, nearly 50 billion tons of it every year. That's more than enough to cover the entire state of California or all of Germany. And the key reason that we need so much sand is this: we are building cities and infrastructure at a pace and on a scale that is way beyond anything in human history. Every year, there are more and more people on the planet, and every year, more and more of them move from the countryside into cities, especially in the developing world. So that means cities are growing at an incredible pace, tens of millions of people a year. And building those cities takes a tremendous amount of sand, especially in the form of concrete. Now, concrete is a great building material, and cities can be great places to live. But in many, many parts of the world, that huge demand for sand is causing massive environmental damage and human suffering. So why can't we just use all the sand that's in the world's deserts? Well, it's pretty much useless, unfortunately. Those desert sand grains are too round and smooth to be used for making concrete, which is the number one thing we use sand for. We need the sand that is found in riverbeds, lake bottoms, and shorelines. And that is why beaches in Morocco are being stripped down to bare rock, and why the habitats of fish and other aquatic creatures are being destroyed in rivers from the Ganges to the Mekong, and why dozens of people, including that farmer that I mentioned, have been murdered in recent years by sand mafias fighting to keep control of this precious resource. So we're here today to learn from each other how and why this sand crisis is playing out, and hopefully to work towards fixing it, because it is a huge, multifaceted problem, and it's going to require a whole range of integrated solutions. So let's get started. It's time to think about how we can build a world for 9 billion people on a foundation sturdier than sand.